Thank you, Mr. Chair, and thank you to Administrator Regan for being here today. We appreciate it. I wasn't going to bring this up, but you were just talking about the Justice 40 Initiative, which is a White House report, and it lays out what kind of projects and technologies would benefit communities, and then it lays out what kind would not benefit. And I have some concerns here, because on the list of projects on page 59, that quote, will not benefit a community, this particular report lays out a list: fossil fuels, carbon capture, roads, research and development. It just says research and development. It doesn't even say what kind. It just wouldn't benefit a community. Nuclear energy's on that list. Pipelines are on that list. So according to the environmental justice warriors, vulnerable communities do not need electricity. I think you seem like a pretty reasonable guy. You can't possibly agree with every aspect of that report, right?
You know, I'm honestly not familiar with the report you're referring
to. Page 59. Check it out. Well, we were just talking about it. That's why I brought it
up.
Moving along, one of the concerns I have is that the rhetoric of this administration does not match the actions. And I've heard the president say a lot of things recently in the midst of an inflation crisis, in the midst of food shortages, supply chain problems. And he said a lot of things that I happen to like we need to increase our oil and gas production. We need to lower gas prices. He says we need more broadband and fiber optic cable, more domestic manufacturing of semiconductor chips, more wind turbines. He wants to replace lead pipes and improve our water quality. He wants to reduce our food prices. These are all really good things to want. But all of these goals require the very plastics and chemicals that EPA regulates. And this is my concern, because I think the EPA is in a position to be helpful here or not helpful. And based on the various proposals and actions from your agency, I have to question whether these goals are shared broadly in the administration. And I'll start with some examples. Let's start with semiconductor chips. So the idea is that we need more chip manufacturing domestically. The problem is this recent proposal for billion-dollar punishments on the very chemicals, PFAS chemicals, that go into chips. So why would we do that if we're trying to increase chip production here in the U.S.?
Being on the receiving end of a water crisis in North Carolina, Gen X, caused by a company, Chemours, a spinoff from DuPont, I don't believe that you have to choose between protecting water quality and people's lives and companies doing the right thing the right way and contributing to our global competitiveness. And so when I take a look at situations like Gen X or PFAS, right, we know that there are technologies and ways to reduce that exposure to mothers, children, and everyone. This is about holding these companies accountable.
I agree there's a good middle ground. The problem with the PFAS, talking about PFAS in particular, is EPA's proposal to ban a whole wide variety of them instead of going individually to each one that might be considered dangerous. Let's look at some more examples. The president also wants to lower food prices.
That's not quite accurate. I don't think we are looking at banning PFAS as a class. I think we've looked at PFOA.
It's recategorizing it in a way that would make it extremely costly to produce it. Again, looking at food prices, we want to lower food prices. It should be easier to make food and less costly. But EPA bans the use of one of the most widely used pesticides, and curtails another. And another example, the president commits to more oil and gas infrastructure. Actually, which I loved this, ordered FERC to withdraw its proposal back in March, which would further limit the building of pipelines. But EPA actually wrote a letter expressing support for those same proposals. And this one I want to get to also. So this is plastic resin. It's produced in Houston. This is the kind of high-quality plastics that are used in biomedical devices, everyday devices, everything we need to reduce healthcare costs, deploy broadband, replace lead pipes, build out our infrastructure. But it's true, isn't it, that the EPA right now is considering reclassifying basic PVC plastics as a hazardous waste product? Does that seem like a productive thing to do in the midst of an inflation crisis?
I think that what EPA is doing is taking actions to put the proper classification on any kind of potential
But this can't possibly be a hazardous waste product, right? I mean, this is the kind of plastic that we would use for biomedical devices. We would put them in our bodies.
Yeah, I think what EPA does is regulate processes. And so I think we have to look at not just the...
You familiar with the problem I'm specifically referring to?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yes, I am. And listen, I think that I've heard lots of things that we plan to ban and put a moratorium on permitting plastic facilities. I mean, Like, there's a lot of
I didn't
stuff
say
out
that.
there.
I said you're considering it, which is true.
We're not. No.
Yeah, you are.
The answer is
You're
no.
actually required to by a court case. Considering making PVC plastic.
We have
I'm
no-
just hoping that
we
you
have
guys are
no
gonna fight
plans to
that and
ban.
stop
We
it.
have no plans to ban or put a moratorium on permitting plastic facilities.
I didn't say ban, I said reclassify. Okay. Reclassify as a hazardous waste product, which would vastly increase the cost of doing business, which would vastly contribute to more inflation. That's why I'm asking about it, but I'm out of time.